Ever since June, as you know, we have been listening to the Sunday readings, and they have generally been descriptions not of the life of Jesus so much as how we are to become his disciples. That's the pattern of the liturgy every year. Once we meditate on and ponder the coming of Christ, the passion, the death, the resurrection, the ascension, and the coming of the Spirit, we go into these long months of learning what it means to be a disciple of this Jesus that we have just studied and heard about. We're getting to the end of the course. A few more weeks we'll start over with Advent. It's interesting that in Mark's Gospel and in the early church, people didn't talk about baptism when they became Christians. They talk about being enlightened. Baptism was enlightenment. The light of Christ began to dwell within the Christian. And so instead of seeing reality from light from outside like we do today from the light of the sun, we see reality from the light which is already within us, the light of Christ. That's why Mark begins his discussion of discipleship way back, chapters before this, with the giving of sight to a blind man. And now he's at the end of the course and he has Jesus giving sight to another blind man in today's gospel. Disciples see reality different than other people. Not because we're better, but because we're enlightened. If we accept the light which comes from within us and not confine ourselves to the light which the world or others have enlightened things for us. Also in the gospel readings, as it said today, the enlightened man began to follow Jesus on the way. When we were first coming together as a church, we weren't called church. We were called the way. Oh, they're on the way. They belong to the way. Because our discipleship is the whole journey of our life back to God. And we know how to go and how to move and not get lost on that journey because we have this inner light. The Quakers are famous for talking about the inner light. They have come to realize that our understanding of life and all reality must come from within us, from the gift of Jesus who has been given to us. Otherwise, we will lose our way on the way. Jesus at one point told us, I am the light of the world. At another point in the Gospels, he said to us, you are the light of the world, because of course we're supposed to be reflecting him. And we're supposed to be lighting up the world so that all can walk in the way of Jesus, which is the way of God. So, that leaves us with the responsibility of always trying to see things with our inner light. As we look at our world today, both in the church, in the international relationships, in the political life of our country, everything seems to be in confusion and turmoil and fear and death and suffering, no matter where you look. But we have to be able to look at that reality with the inner light and not be only illumined by the light that the world, which is sometimes getting very dull and dark, is shining on the reality of our lives. We have the ability to see reality in God's eyes. And that's why it's so important for us, and I hate to use this as a expression, but we need to recharge frequently so that our energy and the light within us is not dimmed. Because if we let it dim, we will begin to see things only as the world sees them. That's why prayer is so essential. And not only prayer, saying prayers, but prayer in the sense of being silent in the presence of God so that his light can begin to burn within us and enlighten us so that we see reality as it truly is. So as we end our course in discipleship, we don't graduate, we just move out into the world living like enlightened people. That's the ideal. Whether that ideal becomes a reality in our lives and in the life of those whose lives we touch is pretty much up to us.